Hello everyone, welcome to Hash It Out. I am Toya Zhang, your host. Today with me is Marouen from ConsenSys. Welcome, Marouen.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for making the time.
So tell us about your role at ConsenSys and what's happening with ConsenSys now.
Sure, great things. So perhaps before starting about my role, I'll share a bit what ConsenSys is and what it does, and then how do I fit in that organization. So ConsenSys has been founded by Joe Lubin, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, a while back. And at first, actually, it used to be both a technology builder, an incubator, a lot of interesting projects working with ConsenSys. But then in recent days, ConsenSys today is mainly two parts. That is ConsenSys Ventures and that is ConsenSys Software. So with ConsenSys Software, you may not know about the name of the company, but you know the products that we have. So Metamask, for example, is the wallet, probably the top wallet in Ethereum space ecosystem, and then it's made by ConsenSys and managed by ConsenSys. Also like things like Infura, which is an RPC provider, many of the applications today in the Web3 space running on top of Infura. So that's also built by ConsenSys. And so in this ecosystem of builders and developers, my role is particularly to direct and manage the DeFi and wallet segment. And so I spend my time talking to projects that are building in the DeFi space, to wallet builders, and see how we can support them from their software needs and ecosystem growth as well.
I have to ask you about your background. Are you like from traditional finance background?
No, I'm from a software background. So I studied engineering, a bit of general engineering, so computer science engineering. I got my master's there from French University. I did my first roles in cloud computing companies, developing like app platforms, building applications and systems, and I've done that for a while. And then gradually I was interested in the blockchain technology, not in the crypto finance anyway. And then that was the major move to the space, to follow the technology.
So from the technology point of view, what do you think of the Ethereum upgrade?
It's good. It just happened in a bad time, I guess. This year that's the highlight of the year in terms of event. With the merge, everybody has been working for a long time. I think from a human point of view, it's actually impressive how a decentralized group of engineers managed to coordinate and push such a big upgrade to an ecosystem not controlled by a central authority. And that's really in itself a proof that these decentralization things can work. So that was a major event. Also for people who are following a little bit, that's just the first step from many other upgrades that are planned on the path to really increase availability, resilience, security, etc. So yeah, first step, more to come.
Exactly. So, but from your work related aspects, are there a lot of changes at the meantime? Like the projects that you're working on will have a huge update?
Related to the upgrade, to the merge? Not really, actually. It was kind of a smooth upgrade, and that's one of the big major aspects of this upgrade. However, actually the perception of the project has changed. So first perhaps like a year and a half or 2 years ago, when crypto and blockchain has started becoming popular, a lot of institutions were getting curious about it. But then at the same time, these institutions were looking at the ESG movement and being carbon friendly and whatnot. And that was a blocker for them to adopt a lot of the crypto technologies that are heavy on that aspect. With this upgrade, I guess one of the major things is really that perception change, that now there is no more excuse that Ethereum is polluting or using a lot of carbon. And some interesting charts has showed actually how much it's using right now, just like almost nothing, tiny bit. So it's really more about a major step for the path of like large adoption and institutional adoption.
Forgive me, like ConsenSys for me, because it's already an old brand, from my impression, it used to be an enterprise solution provider for blockchain, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes.
And this is the first time for me to know that a ConsenSys is actually being actively involved in DeFi or open protocols. What changed, if there is any?
I think it's growth, discovery of how the space is going. There is a few aspects that blockchain needed to go through to gain adoption. I think, first of all, when enterprises and adoption curious people were trying to investigate it, they really wanted to control it in a closed ecosystem, in a private blockchain space, because let's face it, it's kind of risky for a big organization to jump right away into Ethereum and mainnet. So there was a lot of demand for trade finance projects to do an enterprise blockchain, some healthcare, some government, some ID, CBDC projects. All of these are running majorly on enterprise blockchain. And then through the events that happened in the last couple of years with the DeFi summer, with the NFT boom and all that, that showed the resilience of the mainnet and of the public Web3, and that it actually can run billions of dollars worth of assets securely on it. And so that really kind of opened a growth phase for the company, and we realized that, yeah, now we should push. We were doing actually that part before, because we're obviously participating in the Ethereum development as a company. We're a major contributor. But then, yeah, so from a focus of projects, we are all now pushing towards, let's build more for the Web3, for the decentralized internet. And yeah, the enterprises are following slowly. Like you hear about Starbucks and Nike and whatnot, just building into the Web3, the mainnet and Polygon.
Right. I'm not going to pretend that I do understand some technology parts, but what do you think? Like people, like some of the protocols are boosting themselves because certain language they're using. Like Ethereum have Solidity and the Rust, everything else that I can't name, so many of them. And Facebook is also, like Meta is using their own.
I think they did like something, I don't want to say something wrong, but like Sui or some other languages that they launched.
Does all this language make any difference from your point of view?
I think one of the biggest thing that you see in blockchain today is how people are trying to build communities. And so you build communities of users, you build communities of builders. And you can write the best white paper, the best scientific research, but if you don't have the community to go and build these applications on top of it, then it doesn't go anywhere. I don't want to name some networks, but some of them have the name, have the science behind it, but nobody's doing that. And so one of the major efforts that you do when you want your community to grow is really to give them the tools that makes it easy for them to build. And this is where languages matter, for example. And just one layer of it, in ConsenSys we have one major service, which is Infura. Infura has over 500,000 developer accounts. And this just takes the headache from you as a developer on deploying your app. So you don't have to run servers, you don't have to do anything, just call some lines of code and you have your app up and running on Ethereum or Polygon or whatnot. And so the availability of these tools, the availability of wallets for the user to interact with these networks, the ease of languages for people to pick them up, the efficiency of the language to run performant apps, all of it is important for an ecosystem to grow. And that's really the only difference. That's where people are tracking how many Solidity developers is there, how many Solana developers are there, and all of these is just to show the growth of the ecosystem and that it's easy to build on. That's the most important thing. If it's cool technology, but it takes you a month to
community.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to give them the tools that they need, essentially.
Yes, I understand. Well, that explains actually a lot of blockchain, so-called the blockchain developers are suddenly increasing, because previously there is no such thing as blockchain developers. It's just C++ developers.
No, indeed. So it's as it matures and you can learn that you can do more powerful things with this blockchain, it even creates areas of specialization. So a blockchain developer now is like, you got to look at them. What are you good at specifically? Like what kind of projects? Is it more about minting NFTs, or is it more about tokens? Is it DeFi? And a project takes more than coding nowadays. I think you have to look at security, user experience, and all that. So it's maturing quite rapidly, and it's becoming a more sophisticated business to build a dApp in Web3 today.
Yeah, I would agree that the technology in this space is actually maturing in a very amazing speed of time compared to the technology of internet or something like that. But at the same time, we also notice actually the utility or use cases or business models is not being matured as fast. But from what you observe in your projects, like any specific use cases that you think it would be, this is substantial, like it's definitely have some future.
Yeah, it's a $1 billion question, right? I think, honestly, one of the things that I was blindsided by when I joined this space is the stage of maturity at which the space is, right? So when you hear about blockchain from the outside, you think, okay, this thing is ready. Let's go and build. But once you join, you realize that it's at a much more fundamental level. For example, blockchain itself enables some fundamentals that other technologies don't allow. Like, for example, mutability, the fact that we can do trustless transaction, and so on. And so these concepts trigger the mind, and you have to think about, what can I do with them? What kind of use cases can I do with them? And then one level above that, people start coming up with primitives. And so when you say DeFi or smart contract or what is an NFT, these are still like foundational blocks.
Yep.
An NFT is something that, okay,
it's color coin.
Exactly, it's a manifestation of those unique properties of blockchain into something tangible. So now we have an NFT.
Yeah.
What's the easiest form of it is a monkey picture, let's say. But then that's just an experiment to show us that once you have this, how do wallets trade them? How do traders evaluate them? How do dashboards show them? How do tracking companies track the history of transactions? And so things start building around them. And then we are going through these phases. So we have the DeFi, let's say, fundamental thing, which is like, let's do a swap. And then people went to something a bit more sophisticated. Let's do some perp, let's do some options, let's do some synth and whatnot. Same with NFTs. People created some NFTs for art, and then they started looking at utility. They started looking at soulbound and growing a little bit. GameFi almost took off as well, like, you know, X to earn movement. So people started building on those. But in my opinion, I really realized that these are still kind of like mid-layer, and we still need more experimentation and more building on top. And then the thing that will bring your billion or 7 billion users into the space is not built there yet, but it's probably going to use all these elements together. So yeah, that's really my biggest realization right now. Is like I thought NFTs is it, or DeFi is it. No, these are just like, you know, blocks that now as we keep building, we have to build something a bit more sophisticated, something a bit more mature with it.
I agree. That got me thinking, like, from your description, the initiatives that we had previously during the last, let's say, starting from 2016 or 17, when all those projects, blockchain projects, start to emerge. All these things seem to be very bottom up. Like, you have the technology, and then you think, what can you do with this technology? Instead of thinking like, oh, I want to invent a new business model, which part of that I will need the blockchain technology. It's literally like somebody went on a journey, discovered a new mineral, and they said, this has this property, what can I do with it? Let me take it home. And they start thinking, let's think gold, for example. First of all, they said maybe it's valuable to exchange as coins, and then said, oh, we can inject it into circuits of phones, and more. So it's just like, it's a discovery in a way, right? This blockchain. Well, it's inevitable. We need this journey, but at the same time, I think you're pointing out that this industry needs a visionary person. It's like, we need a Steve Jobs here.
I mean, that's yes and no. Also, like, we don't want to repeat the journeys of centralized companies. Like a Steve Jobs of the industry would maybe create an Apple of the industry, but does that actually comply to the spirit of decentralization and, you know, self-custody and the power of the individuals to decide? That's personally why I joined the space. And so if I end up empowering another giant centralized company that uses technology for the same outcome,
You're saying we need someone who is more visionary than Steve Jobs, who is like kind of collectively using the idea of self-sovereignty and
ideally it should be a collective genius, like as in like collectively we create these pockets, these projects that all cohesively exist together, and it depends on what you want to achieve from the blockchain, right? So I don't know, what are your goals from this technology?
Exactly.
Each one has different ones, right?
It's so many silos used to be kind of independent with each other, which is kind of finance and internet, and then governance. So many things are different than each other now. Is being merged together.
Exactly. I wouldn't want it. So that's why I wouldn't want it one company that solves all of these, right? So perhaps it's many people or many visionaries. Personally, I joined this space for the sovereignty and the ability for people to organize without a central authority. So a bit of a tangent, I come originally from Tunisia. Tunisia is a North African country where we had the Arab Spring happening a couple of years back. And so with that, we saw a lot of changes in governments and whatnot, but ultimately when you look back, it's back to the same, right? New faces, but it's the same system. The system doesn't change. And so for that, I was looking for a way that, how can people, across borders, across societies, across countries, collaborate for an idea? Like how much do I have to be reliant on a government to make my future and decide my future? And that's really where, for example, DAOs and decentralized Ethereum and the ability to vote on initiatives, the ability to be rewarded for your contribution and all that stuff really spoke to me and said, this technology is perfect for that. We can create these digitally empowered societies and groups of people that they can build something together, right? That's one goal. So that actually, to my opinion, has not progressed much. There's some work being done on it, but it's not there yet for the next, how to call it, virtual country, right? Network state, as the recent book that came out. That's one angle. And then you have, again, cross-border payment, you have art and paying the artists. So a lot of areas would really benefit from having their own visionary or their own group of visionaries that will grow that space into the next phase.
Yeah, I haven't talked to an interviewee from this angle for a long time, actually, because this really goes back to blockchain, the technology itself, and how it empowers peer-to-peer, starting from transactions to identity, to finance, to kind of tokenized properties, a lot of things
trusting each other, settling matters with software, not depending on corrupted individuals and whatnot. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, we live in developed societies like Singapore and whatnot, and so I don't think these are the civilizations that need this technology. There is actually other countries that have much more fundamental challenges in terms of getting paid, storing your money safely, trusting your currency, trusting your government, trusting your representatives in the parliament and whatnot. And this technology is indeed actually could make a change there. Now, obviously, we have collectively to build and mature and then flow that technology to these people to use it and empower themselves. And that's why we're fortunate to be in stable governments and countries that allow us to do this job. But yeah, so depends on the angle, how you look at the technology. Different people have different expectations from it.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see that in our lifetime?
Here is my theory. I think some failing state somewhere will just say, let's do it. let's put our government on the blockchain and go with
El
it.
Salvador is already
exactly, yes. I'm looking at them, right, doing that with the monetary system, right? With the Bitcoin being, I think the latest is that they said every business has to accept Bitcoin payment or something like that in Salvador, right?
Yeah, well, I think after they announced that Bitcoin is the legal tender, they use 3 months to overhaul every payment system to accept.
Yeah. So that's very aggressive change, right? And I think many countries will be looking at that experiment because that's what it is. It's a controlled experiment in a particular state. Especially for the financial system. It would be good if we can find similar experiments for the legal system, for the political system, for whatever systems, and then we can, I mean, it's a smaller country in El Salvador, but bigger countries can learn from that experience and say, well, I can implement that with an improvement maybe, or maybe it works right away, and so we just take it as it is. But that's how we make progress, by testing it out.
Yeah. Well, in 2022, we have this news that Sri Lanka economy actually fell out. But to make digital economy actually work, there are a lot of pieces missing at this moment. It's not a very successful story for El Salvador so far. So I don't think any nation will copy immediately.
It's not so easy actually. So people think of Web3 as the new internet, but it actually runs on the internet. So you need good internet for any such system to start working. If your country or society is failing at more fundamental infrastructural level, you're not going to be equipped to make these things work. You need smartphone access to people. You need internet access, reliable in rural areas, and then you can change your society in this digital economy. It's not magic trick.
Exactly. So we're gonna go towards there step by step. So looking what we are now at this bear market, people are saying the economy, the finance, crypto space is being dragged dozens of years behind. So what's now? What should we focus on now? Or what ConsenSys is focusing on now, building? Well, bear market is time for building.
Yes. So I think it's two things. I'm not going to speak specifically to ConsenSys, but to many projects that I speak to, it's really balancing off your vision and the work that is required to reach that vision. In more practical terms, you need engineers, you need software, and you need tools to build whatever you think is the right thing to build. And
you need a supportive regulator.
I mean, if you're doing that is how to say, there is two things, right? So there is money crypto and there is tech crypto. These are two different things, but they are related. If your business is related to the money crypto, yeah, regulatory support is very important. Today, because of some scandals, I think the regulators are being a bit more aggressive on both tech crypto and money crypto, but then ultimately depends on the company. Some are more or less exposed to the regulator decisions. But in any case, so you have to really think about that runway. Like how long will my resources last me to build what I need to build? And then at the other side is that you have to really look at the adoption, because building something really cool, but then nobody's there to use it because, I don't know, people have bad taste now in their mind about crypto, and they see everything like maybe it's scammy or whatnot. Would be a shame. Like you could see the next evolution of Ethereum, let's say, with highly scalable, low fees, very easy to use, but then nobody wants to use it because people got burnt, let's say, and they don't want to do it again. So it's very tricky, really. You have to focus on your mission and manage your runway and continue to build and deliver that, but also try to really build things that are meaningful and useful to the space that will get people to come back in a way. I think it's a bit harsh to say, but some people left this space in a way from a user, right? And funds and whatnot. So to come back and say, well, now I see why I should put my money back into this technology, into this space, and use it more. So yeah, I think more to concrete examples, scalability is a big area of blockchain, Ethereum in particular. In ConsenSys, we just launched a ZK EVM chain testnet. So this is a roll-up on Ethereum that I think right now it has like a invite list, thousands of people signed up. We have some key projects that are deploying their Ethereum version of dApps into this one to test it out and see how it grows.
There are many ZK projects actually.
Yes.
Are they competing with each other?
In a way, yes, but also I think it's a healthy competition because all of them are still early stages and they tackle the problem of scalability from different angles. Some look at scalability and privacy. All of these are challenges to fix, right? And then they all tackle them differently. Some are more efficient on the calculation resources, some more on the security. So different angles. I don't want to go into technical details, but in ConsenSys, we think that we have another area of this roll-ups that has not been applied. And that's why we launched this testnet, really to test it out at this stage. I don't think there is a firm plan about a mainnet, but it's really to put some dApps there, put some users and see how it behaves. And perhaps it would be specific to certain use cases that would be better run on that one versus some that are better run on Starknet, some better run on Polygon. Again, it's very early days.
Well, you said it's a healthy competition. I guess if I ask the question about the protocol wars, you're going to say that it's healthy competition as well. Like you mentioned Polygon a couple of times. You're quite familiar with this.
Yeah.
What about other layer 1 or layer 0 projects?
I think it is in a way. Again, I don't know how to say this the right way. It's a research field, right? So you gotta build it out and see how it works. This is my personal opinion, right? So I don't think the fragmentation is good for the space. At one point, we will have to bring the users to a very clear stack, which is if you want to do settlement, this is the network to do it. If you're more into high volume transaction, zero fees, because perhaps it's a gaming or a public good, and this is what you want to go for. If it's art, for this one. And so that is the vision that I see. But also, we talk about decentralization. The fact that you have multiple blockchain is decentralization. There is no one central blockchain that everybody depends on. It's not just Ethereum. It's not just Solana. So there is different options, and that allows it to grow like that. There is some projects like the Polkadot and whatnot and the Cosmos trying to bring these and connect them together. So maybe there is a future where all of these will coexist and you can just connect them to each other. But until then, we still have to keep probably funding these projects. Of course, making sure that they're building for the right causes and see them grow, see where it goes.
Yeah, it's the same like what we observe simultaneously happening, like the scalability solutions being happening, and at the same time resources are being kind of allocated in different projects, like building on different layer twos on different layer zeros.
I mean, essentially also it's not the best technology as well. Like when you invest in these projects, it's about how they manage the funds that you invested in there, how they're spending them, how they're allocating their community into the right research and right work. And so to have a successful project, it depends also on how it's run, right? So it could be the same tech. It could be like Ethereum fork, take a fork, and then a certain organization type will grow it faster, better than the other one. Both doing the same tech, but it's just like the execution is different. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor in this space, but like, you know, it's good to see them all running, and then as long as they don't burn the space, all collaborating into the growth of the Web3 ecosystem, I think it's good to have many of those until the day that we don't need many of those, because, you know, we've run the experiment and we learned this is the most efficient way to run an Ethereum type blockchain. So let's keep with that one.
Yeah, I think that's the point. Like, yes, we're experimenting new things. So you need to manage your runway. Like, like how you execute, you're coming from the good intention, you're issued a token, you have supporters, you have community members, developer communities trying to build something on top. You need to get the users and try if this protocol works or not. And then, like eventually we're going to see something that is working collaboratively together, or interoperabilities of different blockchains when
I mean, also there could be a world where the bear market will extend, and then like in 2 years or 3 years of tight funding and investment, you'll see many projects disappear, and then you'll say, actually, we didn't miss them that much, right? Not much changed with that blockchain shutting down or that token going to zero, which is not also a bad thing. It's a kind of a natural selection path. And when it comes to running the use cases we have, the ideas that we have, we end up putting it on one place and all the other places die. So yeah, that's part of the fun actually of being in this space. Like it's a natural selection, evolution, things are still being built, nothing is well defined. And
well, we have already seen this for a round, like the 2017 round of ICOs. We have seen a lot of projects dead already when they were claiming to decentralize everything, and then and what I really like about the space is that it's also very open, and like most of the stuff is open source. So even if the project dies, the tech does not die. True.
Right. So if I build a good DeFi app or an NFT protocol, the smart contracts are open source. People most of the time can see how it's working, and then if that goes away for bad behavior or bad execution or whatnot, the tech stays there, and some people can pick it up and build on top of it and learn from it. So I think that's what I like also. There is not much proprietary technology that is hidden, and you gotta keep injecting money into me if you want to enjoy this little thing. It's more like it's open there, I'm running it. If you think you can do a better job with it, take it and run it yourself as well.
That's the spirit of developers community, I think, like helping each other. Like when you don't know how to write a line, just Google it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's much bigger in Web3. I mean, I come from a Web2 space where we were trying to fix some problems with development and dev platforms and whatnot, and there was so much actually closed source code. Like I'm doing it one way and my competitor is doing it another way, and then me as a user, I have to go and evaluate all the 3 and 4, and sometimes you get tricked by the evaluation because it's a black box. So it's about what the salesperson tells you, right? And that's not good. Whereas in this space, it's a bit more open source. You can see it. You can, if you have the right knowledge, you can look into it and say, okay, this is efficient. This is scammy. This is good. This is bad, etc., etc.
Yeah, we are at this period of time when, like, I can feel it. The passion of crypto has already been downsizing like hugely after so many rounds of bad news happening in this industry this year. What do you think will be the next thing that will excite us, if there's any? Like, previously I was talking to someone who's telling me like NFT would still be up and running when Web2 companies coming and join this.
The digital collectible wave.
Yes. Well, DeFi is definitely gonna stay.
I think there is multiple angles. To make it simple, there is the who are these users that we want them to come, right? That's the end goal. Who are the users we want to attract? And I would put this in 3 buckets. there is your crypto native people who've been trading and doing work, and they made millions, they lost millions and whatnot, and they've been
the trading group of people, yeah.
The people who hold today the funds in crypto. So those are there to service as well. Like you have to keep them, you have to help them grow their wealth and whatnot. So they will expect certain things from the space. And then you have the institutional investors who have never invested in crypto, but they've been watching the space for a while. And so the big institution, big bank, some funds want to move in. And so for them, maybe they require a certain level of security, certain level of legal framework. They may require even perhaps like the tooling by which they trade and they do their operation is not the same as a retail trader or an amateur one. They may require certain financial products that don't exist today. Like, they don't want a simple products, they want a complex financial products in that one. That's another market to address. And then you have the other 7.9 billion people on the planet who has never touched crypto. So those also will require completely different things, right? So you look at the major Web2 apps today that have like billions of users and say, well, if that app was such an addictive material that people came in and they found value, for better or worse, those values could be wrong in the long term, but they found value in social media, they found value in whatever robo trading advisors, they found value in this and that. So how do we replicate some of that into the Web3 space and bring those users? And so I am personally watching these three angles. I'm not actually too worried about the first angle. The first angle is people who've been in this space, they went through up and down cycles, they'll probably stay. But it's like, what are the institutional offerings that are out there? What are the innovation? What new regulation coming in to allow institutions to come in? Because that will be less users, but bigger ticket size, bigger money, bigger investment. And then you have the other case, which is like, how can I do something that will bring 100 million, 200 million users in one pop? They don't even have to know what crypto is. They don't have to know what an NFT is. A Starbucks loyalty program. How is that going to evolve? What does Starbucks plan to do with that? A Reddit digital collectible, how is that going to be replicated by the next social media network that want to do something similar, maybe with an improvement on top? And so for that, for example, I'm watching out for user experience typically, what projects are building easier ways for people to onboard. I saw this particular wallet the other day that you just give it your phone number and sends you an OTP, and that's it. You're on blockchain, right? You don't need to set seed phrases, you don't need to do anything, and it's just like right away like that with an OTP. And I think that something like that, my mom can just use it right away. She doesn't have to scratch her head. So yeah, these are the three vectors, and there's probably something that we don't even see coming, but it's just will pop. Yeah, these are the three areas that I see a lot of development happening in it, and I hope it will bring the next run in this space.
So I have some thought about that as well. So like user experience is very, very key point of having user adoption. As you said, they don't need to know this is an NFT, or they don't need to know that you are actually in metaverse. Yeah. It becomes like daily norm.
Yep.
I was watching a stand-up comedian the other day and saying like 20 years from now I'm getting old and being shouted at the nurse of the hospital, like how many times I have to tell you how to book your appointment through metaverse.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be like our beautiful future that you and I both in this industry would be dreaming of. And that requires some kind of development work of getting the user experience at least seamless as Web2.
Yeah, and I think actually as we're doing it, we will see the painful growth, but then also there is a sobering idea that we can just close our eyes and open them in 20 years and 30 years, and you can see that how did we get here? I do this fun little thing with I have two kids, so I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So mostly with a 5-year-old, I essentially lie to him. I tell him that the only money that exists is internet money. And so the concepts of digital money, I want him to grow thinking that's how things work. Like no point in teaching him the cash system and then teaching him the digital money system. So I'm seeing like how do you make internet money and so on. And then for him, one day he saw me browsing some NFTs, so he asked me what it is, and I said, well, this is things that you can buy and sell with, and he said, with internet money. He's like, yeah. And then I show him how to mint an NFT, took his picture, put it on OpenSea, and then he just came to me the other day and he was like, oh, how can I sell my picture? And so I just bought it from him, in a way. And then he uses that money to do something. So all of these concepts, I think it's good to inject into the new generation and then see it, paying dividends in 10 and 20 years if they grow that way. For us, it seems a painful growth because we are on that stage. We are shifting from one thing to the other. But I believe actually if we, again, really project on a bigger time frame, assuming that everybody will do their role, doing the work, we are getting there. There is no way around it. We are digital economies, we are digital societies, everything is happening on the internet. Sadly, we spend more and more time in front of our screens, and then whether it's blockchain or AI or VR or even phone quality and the next Apple and next innovation from Android is what's going to determine 90% of our daily time. So no doubt about the fact that this space needs to be built, and we will continue building it. People will come in to do quick money, quick buck, and they will crash and whatnot. It's fine. It happens every now and then, but the fundamentals will stay there, and we will hopefully look back in a couple of decades and we wouldn't see any other path. It was like, okay, we're coming here anyway. So that's at least how I hope it's
I like the idea.
It's like it's a fact. It's going to happen. Yeah. It's inevitable. Yeah.
So our next generation is going to be kind of, we call our generation like mobile generation. Next would be like
digital.
Yes.
100% digital. Yeah. We say this thing, digital natives, and I spent a lot of years in my career doing the digital transformation thing, which is convincing companies to move from a paper process to an app. Such a painful thing. I'm glad I don't do it anymore. So at least now into the Web3 space, these are purely digital native teams. I speak to projects that the members never met face to face. Like they work completely digital, and it works and it functions. And so there is definitely an evolution there, and this is just the beginning. And so then the same construct will be more present in our kids' lives and the next generation life, and to be just purely digital nations, digital people, digital businesses.
Yeah, and they, as we just previously covered it, they merged the lines of finance and politics and identity and everything into something. Because definition that we don't know.
We matured. I'm a bit older now, so I know that all is linked together. You cannot separate it, right? Politics control finance, finance drives politics, society, behavior, culture is driven by both. So it makes sense for all of them to be running on the same blockchain.
Yeah, and the social media is creating some opinion echoes.
The narrative, the driving the opinions, and it's all complex.
Some revolution.
So
politics. We're all familiar with that, like impacting on the vote results.
No, you cannot isolate it, I think, and we're becoming more aware of that and having the technology that allows us to make sense of it and either trade it or track it or monitor it or represent it into semi-tangible thing. It's perfect. It just makes us more mature as a species, as a human race.
Yeah, like it sounds like a nice path. Even though we don't know how to walk through that path, but it's every path's going to the same destination. It sounds like that. It's looking back, we're thinking of having an account with your email or phone number is so easy, but maybe 20 years ago for a previous generation, they can't even imagine that.
We can't live without one today. It's just like, it was a question before, should I get a Yahoo? Should I go to Gmail? Do I need it right now? It's like, no, it's the must-have thing. Similar probably soon with digital identities, and you have to show yourself with a KYC token or whatnot to access any services.
Which will be borderless. That's good.
For governments to trust each other, they need the technology to trust each other, and guess what? Technology does that. Blockchain does that. So again, really, maybe I'm living in a bit of a bubble because of this space, and we breathe it day in and day out. But I don't see any other alternatives to many aspects of our life being powered by this tech, or a tech that is very similar to it.
True. Well, I've also been living in this industry for too long to get myself out of or see the outside world, which I'm sure is going to be very big.
Christmas is good for those because I always just force my friends to get an NFT as a gift, and it just like helps me test, because for us you trade a few and you're like, oh, it's nonsense. It's very easy, like you do it. But then you go to a friend who never touched crypto or something like that and say, well, I got you an NFT thing. And you see them go through the process of, and from year to year, it's still very hard for them. Many of them never see their gift, but from year to year, you see them actually getting through it a little bit easier, and then it triggers something in their head. Some people say, well, I don't see the benefit of this. Some people actually, I look back now from 12 months when I first introduced them, they're transacting, they're doing a few things at a certain level, but there is always good to go and test your theories on normal people. Is that the wrong word? No. On non-Web3 people, on Web2 people. And then you get good feedback, you get sincere feedback that, this makes sense, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes they challenge things that you've never challenged for yourself as an idea and whatnot. Funny story, the other day I was with a friend, we were traveling in Italy. They're from Hong Kong, I'm based in Singapore, and then we're traveling in Italy, and they had to lend me some money, like 100 euros, because I couldn't have cash. And so I said, how do I pay you back? Do I send you USDC? And this person, they have crypto and they understand crypto, but they said, no need, just send me PayPal. I was like, PayPal? What is this? And then we did the experience, and so I have PayPal, I'm already KYC'd in Singapore, and then I open it up, enter the email, hit send, 100 euros, instantly received by them, 0 fees.
Oh, 0 fees?
0 fees. And I was like, all right. A few things to question about crypto and borderless payment and whatnot. So I think certain cases PayPal charges you, some cases doesn't charge. I don't know what's the deal. If it's
PayPal always gives me the impression it's a very expensive service.
I swear I sent the money, it just went through like 0 from Singapore to Hong Kong, 0 fees, 100 euros. They got their worth. So it was like okay.
Payment industry is also getting competitive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good actually to get challenged sometimes and say, well, the way you're doing it with blockchain is not the only way. There is also other innovation happening elsewhere. So maybe learn from it, implement it, and whatnot.
True. Okay. So back to the tangible or practical things. Pulling our conversation back to how we're going to achieve that next year. What is ConsenSys working on? And we've known about a ZK.
So I think scalability is one big thing. The other one that we are spending some time and effort on it is the developer experience, by bringing together different, like, how to call them, higher level tools for people to build. And so today, if you use, like, for example, Infura to deploy your application, you're using some low level functions of Ethereum, get balance, check wallet and whatnot. There's a lot of smart builders who are building like a layer on top, which is like an SDK or a bundle that will allow you to build faster, deploy faster. We just announced, I think, this week, a Unity SDK for gaming. So now game developers can inject Metamask directly into their Unity engine, and they do Metamask transaction from there. So, shortcut the development cycle.
Sorry, I have to ask here. Where does the money come from? Who is incentivizing you to develop tools for developers?
Okay.
What's the business model here?
I gotta talk about the flywheel. There's a flywheel somewhere. So the idea is that if you have more developers building applications, there will be more users coming into the ecosystem.
Yes.
And more users will bring more use cases developers to build for. So that's the general idea. And then if you see this towards ConsenSys business model, we have developer tools that are monetized. So people pay for these developer tools, projects pay for them. And then you have users who today can download MetaMask for free, but then certain transactions they pay for, like a swap, like an on-ramp. So if you think about it, if there is more projects that have the right tools to build, they will pay for those tools, but reasonable price and whatnot. But then the benefit is that now if you bring 1 million user, 1 billion user, 10 billion users, each one of them pays, let's say, $1 a year for a swap, that's a major revenue stream as well. So I think ConsenSys is very well positioned in that aspect, which is supporting the builders and supporting the users at the same point. And just the flywheel. Somebody told me that's how it works. But yeah, so enabling developers to build definitely grows the space faster, puts it a bit more on steroids. Same for the user, so back to the MetaMask side, building a better user experience for certain things. You will see some announcements in a couple of weeks that solve things around swapping, bridging, on-ramp. We just actually announced PayPal partnership where people can on-ramp with PayPal. So improving all of these experiences is good. We're also doing a big initiative called Metamask Snaps. This allows people to build their own customization to MetaMask to tackle problems that we don't have bandwidth to tackle. So some interesting projects are building some security layers, some password management as snaps, maybe some dashboards that pop up when you do a transaction to tell you additional information so you make the right thing as a user. They're building snaps to do transactions on non-EVM chains like Starknet, Bitcoin. So it's growing that community that will make MetaMask more than just a wallet. It's like a platform where people can build their own snaps, apps on top of it. So those are probably the two major things. The rest is just fun stuff. I mentioned this because I gotta plug something here. We just actually launched a site called Soulflakes. Soulflakes?
S-O-L?
Like a soul.
Oh,
flakes.
Soulflakes.
And this is for Christmas to send a soul-bound token as a gift. So I can get your address. I don't even know who you are. I just have your Ethereum address, and then I can send you a soul-bound token with a note to say thank you for having me on this podcast, and I can attach some Matic to it. I'm
sending my Ethereum address.
Exactly. And so this is open to anybody actually, and everybody started using it, and it's a great way for the community to start learning what is a soul-bound token, because everybody heard about it this year, but I haven't actually owned one. So it's a good experiment, and I think the Christmas spirit for people to share these notes is just a perfect thing. So we have a lot of these actually kind of fun projects that we do as well.
Yes. So I think we can wrap it up very well that there is a long way to go. There's a business model that we need to build, which we don't know what is that. But there are a lot of tangible and practical things that we can do at the same time to like step by step achieve wherever that is.
I think definitely be curious, experiment, try a few things. If you see a DeFi protocol, just go play with it with $10. I mean, you don't have to put millions in it. If you see some NFTs, I'm not a big art collector, but I did buy one to see what it is like to be part of the community and what is it, the utility one, what's not the utility one. So I think the curious mind will allow us to really try different things, and as you see them and test them in function, maybe some ideas will come, and you'll have the next inspirational business model or whatnot that will come from it. The technology is there. There's a lot of experiments that gave us a lot of feedback, and now we're just inviting builders to come and build the next wave.
Cool. Yeah. Test it out. If you don't like it, they will die and be irrelevant. If you like it, you are the supporter, early supporter.
Exactly. No, it's an open space, so welcome.
Yes. Thank you very much, Marouen.
Thank you.